Good evening. As a preliminary matter, this is Zoe Burgess, City Clerk. Please permit me to confirm that all council members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Council members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
I'm here.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Present.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Present.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Present.
Mayor Roger Manning. Mayor Roger Manning. As a reminder, you're able to mute. Perfect.
You got me now?
I hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Nilsa Zacharias. Nilsa Zacharias.
Hi, Zoe, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. City Attorney Pam Booker.
I am here.
City Manager Kenneth Castle.
I can hear you fine.
Perfect. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Don Hearing. Don Hearing.
I'm here.
Perfect.
You may
Thank
have me muted.
Please note, when the appropriate time comes to speak, the mayor will call for such during public comment, both in the beginning and end of the meeting, as well as the public hearing section of the agenda. You may utilize the virtual hand feature if you wish to comment. Please note, this meeting is being recorded, both voice and video. Please remember, your mic may be live. I will mute any microphones that carry any feedback or interruption. However, you have the ability to unmute yourself. Mayor, you may begin the meeting.
Thank you and good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the City of Westlake on June 8, 2020 at 6:32 p.m. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 2020-69. Due to the COVID-19 and the need to ensure public health, safety, and welfare, this meeting may be conducted without a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications, media, and technology, such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120-54 5B2 Florida statutes. City Clerk, do we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Roger Manning.
Here.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Here.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Present.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Present.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Could we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications for the meeting tonight, for the agenda? Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications of the agenda this evening? All right. Attorney Booker, were we not going to have one item tabled for this evening?
Yes, I apologize. That is the Green Lane plat. This plat was advertised. However, the applicant is in agreement with tabling this item until the July meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna be tabling item D on the public hearing portion of the agenda tonight.
That's correct.
Okay, do we have, approval of the agenda with that deletion? If so, could we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion of the consent agenda. Can we just do that? All three?
Mayor, when we get to the Green Lane item, if there can be a motion to table that, a second, and a vote on that item, but it will not be formally heard.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so, okay, can we have a public comment then? Do we have any, public comment for this evening?
Mayor, I believe I still need a motion for the agenda.
I'll make a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Crump, seconded by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Mayor Roger Manning.
Approval.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any, public comment?
I'll give a moment for any of those viewing to raise your virtual hand if you have a public comment. I see no comments, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Move on to the consent agenda. We have several items on this consent agenda. We can approve them all with one motion unless there's further discussion on any one of these items. I don't see any discussion, hands up on discussion, so could we have a motion to approve all the items on the consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda.
I second the motion. I second that motion. Can you hear me?
Zoe, did you drop out?
Thank you. I have a motion on the table by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
Approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries for consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, we don't have any presentations or proclamations this evening, so we'll move on to the public hearing portion. We're going to start out with item A, ordinance 2020-05, Education and Youth Advisory Board for a second reading.
We have
City Clerk?
ordinance 2020-05, Education and Youth Advisory Board. An ordinance of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, creating an Education and Youth Advisory Board, establishing the purpose and setting forth the duties of board members to establish criteria for the board composition and appointment, providing for a conflicts clause, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. If we don't have any other discussion on this, then we'll have a motion. Let's have a motion, please. This is a second reading.
I will make the motion that we move forward with the adoption of ordinance 2020-5, implementing the Education and Youth Advisory Board in the city of Westlake.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson, seconded by Councilwoman Kara Crump. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
Approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes?
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to item B, ordinance 2020-06, Westlake Civil Rights Ordinance Act. This is also a second reading.
Ordinance 2020-06, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, to be entitled Westlake Civil Rights Ordinance Act, providing for non-discrimination within the city and all other activities promoted or sponsored by the City of Westlake, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, if we don't have any further discussion on this item, do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt 2020-06, Civil Rights Ordinance Act, City of Westlake.
I second that motion.
We have a motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
Approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes?
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes. 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 Can you hear me? Yes. Hello? Yes. Hello?
I'm sorry. We lost connection. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
I'm saying yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump. Councilwoman, are you still on the line?
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item C, resolution 2020-10. A resolution for the final plat for Sky Cove Phase 1B.
Resolution 2020-10, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Sky Cove Phase 1B, located by meets and bounds, being described as a parcel on land lying in Sections 1 and 12, Township 43 South, Range 40 East, in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any further discussion on this item? So no further discussion? Could we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10, resolution for the final plat for Sky Cove Phase 1B.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Kara Crump. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
I approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes?
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're going to jump over item D because it's been tabled.
Mayor, if we
Yes.
may back up to that item, if the city clerk can read that by title and we get a motion to table that item until the July 13th agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was resolution 2020-11. a resolution for the final plat for Green Lane, which we are going to table. Please read.
Resolution 2020-11, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Green Lane, being a portion of Section 7, Township 43 South, Range 41 East, and Section 12. Township 43 South, Range 40 East, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date.
Motion to table 2020-11, final plat for Green Lane.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion on the table, Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Kara Crump. Roll call, Mayor Roger Manning,
Approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson,
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Move on to item E, Resolution 2020-12, a resolution for the final plat for Groves of Lake Worth. And we have a presentation from the applicant on this item.
Very good, Mr. Mayor. Council members, for the record, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of Minto Communities in the plat of the Groves at Westlake. So the site plan is approved administratively under your code, but plats are required to meet certain minimum technical requirements prior to being presented to the council for approval. If plats meet those requirements, council is compelled to approve the plat based on the technical compliance. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of an overview of the site plan, which is a heck of a lot more exciting than the plat. And then if you have any questions concerning the plat, certainly I'll be more than happy to answer. So if I can get control of the screen, there we go. So Pod O is located south of Pod E on the south side of Persimmon Boulevard East and immediately east of the Green Lane. So Green Lane is that area, and I'll just put my cursor on it, that little area. That's the plat that has now been postponed to the July meeting. So this is Parcel O, and it will be known as the Groves or Groves of Westlake. So the plat boundary itself is 166.07 acres. That is the amount of land included within the technical boundaries of the plat. The parcel boundary itself, or the pod boundary as we refer to it, is 116.5 acres. The land use of this parcel pursuant to the City of Westlake's comprehensive plan is R1 and R2, and the zoning is also R1 and R2. The applicant is proposing a total of 277 dwelling units within the first plat, or phase one. That'll be for a total of 424 dwelling units at a net density of 3.64 dwelling units to the acre, well below the maximum densities of either the R1 or R2 zoning districts. Here is a site plan for your review. Groves will have its primary access point off of Persimmon Boulevard East, which is located on the plan and is identified as main entry. It will also have a secondary access point, as all of the parcels, larger parcels that we've done to date have, similar to meadows as well as hammocks. We'll have a secondary entrance located off of Green Lane. So the area in green is that land area, which is included as a part of phase one. Phase two is highlighted in yellow. We would anticipate phase two being before you probably sometime in August, and it will contain 147 dwelling units. The 266 dwelling units are proposed a part of the plat that we have before you today. Pod O will contain two different lot sizes, and those will include a 50-foot wide lot series. Again, these are the same general lot sizes that you have seen built within meadows, as well as hammocks, as well as a 65-foot lot series that are here. So the yellow indicate the 50-foot lots. The blue are the 65-foot lots. And in this parcel, a little bit different than what we have done in hammocks and in meadows to date, we do have a limited number of lots which are back to back. And those are important because there is no premium that is lot premiums that are attached to those lots. And that presents an element of affordability. Of course, the vast majority of the lots are located on open space and other green tracts. The entranceway will be similar to what we have done in the past, which we've kind of utilized as a standard. I will tell you one of the new additions that we are incorporating into all the pods moving forward is providing a 10-foot wide multimodal pathway coming all the way into the parcel, connecting with the multimodal pathway out on Persimmon. So that's something that's new. You'll see that at both our entranceways, and you'll see that in all future parcels coming forward. But very nice entry, will be very, very well landscaped, consistent with the parcels that have been developed to date. So this is the plat, which really is a technical document. The elements that are required on a plat are defined in the Florida statutes. The applicant is required to meet certain technical requirements. This is reviewed by Seminole Improvement District's professionals, both from a legal perspective and a technical perspective, as well as from the city's engineering from a technical perspective, and city attorney's office from a legal perspective. All of these agencies have all determined that the plat meets the technical requirements, and therefore we will request your approval of this Phase 1 plat tonight. Again, some of the technical drawings are included therein. Certainly the pretty pictures are a little bit easier to understand. And so with that, I'll conclude my presentation. We thank you for your time this evening and are happy to answer any questions that you have.
I do have a question, and I'm not, I didn't see that very well. For SID to get to these lakes to maintain their grass and whatever they have to do, are there any pathways? Because on the map, I'm seeing the I'm seeing the property side by side, but I'm not seeing a pathway where SID or whoever needs to get back to these lakes can get back there.
Yes. So Seminole Improvement District requires us to provide access to all of the lake tracts, multiple access points. When lakes are immediately contiguous to a roadway, they're able to gain access there. If not, we are required to provide what we refer to as a lake maintenance access easement. And lake maintenance access easements are provided to each of the lakes internally. And that is one of the things that's very carefully reviewed by Seminole Improvement District through the review process.
Okay. All right, I just didn't see them in the plan, that's all.
Yeah, they are all there. I'm trying to see if on this particular enlargement you can see one. Here's a good example. At the bottom of the screen here, there is a tract that comes directly from the road. That is a lake maintenance and access tract. There's also other drainage easements. The larger lakes, they have access directly from the road.
Okay.
Don, can you also explain that in many instances, the easements are part of the lot?
Right, so in those easements, drainage easements that are not required, and there's a good example on the screen between lot number 4 and lot number 5, that's not an area where Seminole Improvement District needs access to the lake. Since they have access directly from the roadway, there's a drainage easement that splits the property boundary, and those drainage easements are in addition to the minimum lot area or width that we provide. So if we have a 50-foot lot, which is in the case in both lot 4 and lot 5, there is a 20-foot drainage easement that is in addition to those two lots. So those lots have additional land area that gives them a little extra open space. They're not allowed to provide any landscaping or fencing on those easements without the appropriate permits from Seminole Improvement District, but they are able to take advantage of that expanded green area.
So what happens is when the homeowner applies for a fence, obviously they apply to the building department, and then the zoning department, the planning and zoning department reviews carefully and coordinate with it, so that is actually maintained as an easement and is not enclosed by a fence.
Thank you, Nielsa.
Don, I have a question for you. Has
Yes,
there been
ma'am.
plans for guest parking or any solutions for parking? I know that was a little bit of a problem in the other two.
Right. So we have parking that is provided at the mail kiosk. We've also implemented a program where guest parking is available at the Community Recreation Center through an easy permit by notification to the Homeowners Association. Each of the driveways will accommodate guest parking, and there's the ability during the day to have parking on the street. So we actually exceed the minimum code requirement as it relates to parking and guest parking.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Clara, one more something. With regard to guest parking, the applicant is also counting with the guest parking the driveway. So basically, these single homes will have two parking garage, cover parking garage, and then when they submit the site plan, they are also accounting as guest parking the two spaces on the driveway.
So, Nilsa, that was going to be my question. So we did, or Mr. Herring, we did adjust the numbers of the parking because I know that was one of the issues that residents had, that they felt it as though it wasn't wide enough, the length and width. They felt the numbers could have been a little more adjusted and things. So we did adjust those numbers.
And the new code defines a minimum width of the driveways, which we are adhering to.
Okay, perfect. What about the setback? Did that change any?
The setbacks in these parcels are continuing to be the same, which is 10 foot for the side load garage. Of course, you have to have a minimum of 20 feet in front of any garage so that it doesn't go out into the street, and 20-foot setback for a front load garage.
Thank you.
The setbacks are the same as they were applied to Part Q and hammocks and meadows.
Okay. Any further questions? Can we read by title?
Resolution 2020-12, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Groves of Westlake, being in part a replat of Open Space Tract Number 4 and Open Space Tract Number 5 Persimmon Boulevard East, Plat 2, Plat Book 128, pages 16 through 19, inclusive public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, and being a portion of Section 7, Township 43, South Range 41 East, and Section 12, Township 43 South, Range 40 East, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing recordation and providing an effective date.
Thank you. We don't have any further discussion. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 20-12, final plat Roads of West.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Kara Crump, seconded by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Roll call, Mayor Roger Manning,
I would approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson,
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump,
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item F, resolution 2020-13, a resolution for the final plat for tract PC5, the tax collector. And we have a presentation on that. Mr. Herring also?
We do. Just waiting for Zoe to pull that up.
Do you have the presentation only the plat, or you combine it with the site plan?
I was going to do it with the site plan, Nilsa.
Well, I really would like to do the site plan first. You know, if we're gonna, well, it's fine.
And
You can
Nilsa,
do.
that would be fine. Do you have a presentation on the site plan, Nilsa?
Yes, I do.
Good. Well, I'll let you go ahead and then, if it's okay with the mayor, to make your presentation, if it would be okay to, Mr. Mayor, perhaps to reorder the agenda to do the site plan first, and then we'll do the plat right after that. That way you see how the site plan relates to the plat.
That would be fine. So what we're gonna do then is, have item G first then, which is resolution 2020-14.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Zoe, if you could pull up Nilsa's presentation, that'd be great. And while you're doing that, Councilman Long Robinson, I wanted to congratulate you on the appointment to the Board of Directors that was in the paper this morning. Thank you for all your service.
I appreciate that, Don. Thank you.
Zoe, did you get knocked off?
Kind of looking like it.
Excuse me, Mayor and Council. I know she's been having some, oh, she just sent me a text. Her system froze.
Okay, so we'll give her a minute to get back together there.
Is everyone back available?
Yes.
Looks like
We
Zoe's
lost
back.
connection again.
You're back.
Okay.
Could you hear everything, Zoe? We want to put up Nilsa's presentation first on the site plan, and then we'll do Don's presentation after that.
Okay. No, sir, your presentation's up. Give me a moment to just pass you the presentation capability.
Thank you, Zoe.
Mayor, Council, while Zoe pulls that up, the presentation can be taken out of order, but when the council calls, mayor calls for a motion and a vote on there,
Okay.
the plat should be read before the site.
The plat should be read before the site plan?
The resolution for it, yes, on the motion for approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to move. There we go.
Okay, no, so you should have the capability now.
Thank you. Can I proceed?
Please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Nilsa Zacharias, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Westlake. The application that you have in front of you is the tax collector building site plan review. The applicant is Palm Beach County tax collector. And as you can see in this first slide, the proposed building is on part at PC5. So so the gross site acre is 4.63, and the proposed building is 23,735 square feet. It will host the tax collector office and the Department of Motor Vehicle. When we do a review, the Planning and Zoning Department look at what is the land use, the future land use that Council had approved as part of the comprehensive plan, and what is the zoning. So in this case, it's civic and civic education. As you can see in this drawing, the proposed building is located between Town Center Parkway and Ilex Way. So this is a table that you also encountered on your staff reports. On page 2 of the staff reports, we look at it very close. What are the surrounding land use and what is the surrounding zoning district with regard to the subject site? So in this case, you will see that we have at the north area, you have the town center, which is yellow. On the south area, there's also civic and education, the zoning. On the east area, you have is a boundary with the residential 2 zoning district. In the west area, you have the civic and education, which is the purple. So we always want to make sure that we are protecting our residential neighborhoods when we have an application that is non-residential, like in this case. So also part of your staff report, you have this big table. Unfortunately, there is not animation. This is supposed to be flying in and changing, but we should be happy that we can actually see this, but there is not animation on this WebEx. So in any case, the building is a 1-story building. It's 23,735 square feet. The application includes obviously the building and also landscaping plans. So, and this is important to emphasize that once the City of Westlake receives a site plan review application, there is a team that reviews. The team includes the Planning and Zoning Department, the Engineering Department, and when I say engineering, that also is including landscaping. So also it's the Seminole Improvement District and a very important Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. We want to make sure that the plans that come in front of you has been vetted by Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, that they have been reviewed, if the entrance to the site is the proper width to ensure that fire trucks can maneuver, all of that. There is a lot of coordination prior to arriving to this hearing. So also the table shows, and I am not going to go one by one, but as you can see, we provide this table to ensure that the proposed site plan is in compliance with the City of Westlake codes in terms of setbacks, lot coverage, open space, number of parkings, and so on. So all of this detail is also included on the staff report. And again, there should be some animation coming, but bear with me. Please don't read the last paragraph. That's supposed to come at the end. So as part of the review, we look at the loading. We have a code section, Article 8.7 in our parking code that requires loading. But also that specific section provides a provision, I would say, that requirement may be waived or lessened in whole or part by the Planning and Zoning Director upon recommendation of the city engineer. So basically what happens is there are certain type of uses that are required to have a loading zone. For example, if we receive an application from Publix, you know, we all know that they do a lot of loading, unloading of merchandise. So in those cases, that's when this code section, the loading, it will be very much in place. The code says, like it says, the city land development regulation requires one loading space for office building ranging from 10,000 to 50,000 square feet. So the applicant has submitted a request to waive that requirement. They specifically said that the Sage facility does not require frequent receipt or distribution by motor vehicles or materials or merchandise at this facility. So based on this statement and based on another similar type of situations, the waiver was reviewed and was recommended by the city engineer and finally approved by the Planning and Zoning Director, in this case, myself. Another specific point that they are proposing a mechanical equipment, a chiller tower, basically. And that chiller tower obviously needs to be screened, so it will be aesthetically pleasant on the site. So it's an 8-foot wall, and there is a specific provision on our city entering code, which is the Palm Beach County Code, that says, and it's on red here, that equipment, the height of the wall that is screening the equipment, the minimum height will be equal to the highest point of the equipment. So in this case, we are in compliance with this specific code section that is allowing an 8-foot wall to screen the chiller tower. So we also review signage. Basically, we look at how many signs is the applicant proposing, and then because we do have, the city has adopted a sign code, we are reviewing per our sign code, and which is the requirement is that there could be wall signs fronting the right-of-way. So in this case, the 2 wall signs that are part of this application and that staff is recommending approval are those 2 wall signs as shown on this drawing, which are fronting the 2 streets. Since this is a corner lot, so that's those 2 signs that are being recommended for approval. I mentioned before, the site plan also includes landscaping plans that are reviewed by the city landscaping department. Also includes drainage that also is being reviewed by the Seminole Improvement District. And that is, I don't want to read it all, but I think it's important to mention that a letter of intent was received on May 12, 2020 from the SID district engineer. So, and obviously the city engineer, Suzanne, she works very closely also with the engineer from SID. With regard to traffic, we also review the amount of trips, and it's being reviewed by the city traffic engineer. The total trips projected for this application, taking into consideration adjacent sites in Westlake, do not exceed the approved trips for Westlake per the development order. So, and finally, fire safety. And as I mentioned before, it's being reviewed by Palm Beach County Fire Department. We work really close with Pedro Segovia, and he had provided his sign off with regard to this application. As final remarks, our code, Chapter 2, requires that site plans that are non-residential are being advertised on the Palm Beach Post. We work closely with the city legal counsel and the city clerk to make sure that we comply with these requirements. And then I just the second paragraph is just repeating who has reviewed this site plan. And finally, we are saying that based on the subject review, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval of this subject application. The reviewers find the application in compliance with applicable code requirements. And thank you.
Thank you. So can we move right into Mr. Herring's presentation and then do our roll after that's finished for both of them?
I just had one really, really quick question, if I could, Nilsa, Mr. Mayor. Also.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
If you go back to your signage,
yes.
I don't know if you want to go back to it real quick. Is that the actual sketch of the tax collector's office? Is that a?
Yes.
Excellent.
I believe Mr. Herring will go more into details, but yes, no, definitely. This is elevation.
So this is what it's going to look like.
Yes, this is elevation. Mr. Herring will show beautiful pictures, I'm sure. My presentation always more like the hardware of the application, and he will get more into the software and beautiful pictures.
Wonderful. Thank you for entertaining me with my request.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, we move into Mr. Herring's presentation.
Zoe?
Mr. Herring, are you able to see your presentation?
Not yet. Is anybody else?
No.
Nope.
No, I cannot see. I see Nielsen.
Just a moment.
There we go. All right, Mr. Mayor, for the record, Donaldson Hearing with Copper and Hearing here tonight on behalf of the Palm Beach County Tax Collector and Song and Associates, who is the project architect and the project leader for this project. And we're very excited to have the opportunity to present this request. Nielsa went ahead and provided you with the location, but really it's strategically located immediately east of what we refer to as Ilex and south of and contiguous to Town Center Parkway. South, it's just east of the fire station, so it's kind of in that area that we can refer to as the Civic District. But this is a great use that we're so excited to have come to Westlake. The tax collector will provide services for all of the Central Western community and will be a great draw of activity, which is something that is very, very important as we begin to set the stage and get the right density and intensity in place for some of the non-residential and retail uses that we will have. So the tax collector will be a great draw, and we're excited. We'd like to really, before I get into the balance of the presentation, I have to take a moment to stop and thank your city manager and all of your planning staff, because this application was submitted to your staff in very early April, and it's before you this evening for final approval. We have already made application to your building department, and we hope to start construction the day a building permit is issued. And I will tell you that the tax collector had some frustrations in some other local governments which couldn't process things as efficiently as the city, and therefore we are now the recipient of this project going forward in this fiscal year. And it's all to your staff's great effort to help us bring this to fruition. You also went over the facts and figures. I'll just highlight that it's really a very low density use for the site, about 13% lot coverage, 36% open space. We exceed the parking requirements, so it's just a great use for the site. This is the site plan overlaid on top of the aerial, so you can see the Grove Marketplace to the west. The county's fire station site, so this really is right in line with the Civic District. Ilex goes directly into the town center, so there's a lot of great synergies and connectivity that we see as a part of the proposed plan. Now this is what we refer to as the technical site plan. I always show you the pretty pictures, but there's a lot of detail behind those pictures, and so this is what the technical site plan looks at. And this is what Nielsa reviews to ensure that we meet all those specific line items that she outlined in her chart and in her staff report. But this is the site plan, and I'll just highlight a few things. Now, just so I don't confuse you, I rotated the site plan, so north now is to your right, just so that it could be a little bigger on your screens this evening. Ilex Way, which is to the west, is to the top of the screen. And you can see the building is really set to engage Town Center Parkway. It has a beautiful presence on the street. And in the world of urban design, we'd like to see that because it really creates a great presence on the street. And while we have a one-story building, the building is really designed to look like it's a story and a half or 2 stories, which is really needed to give it that presence of a civic building on a public street. The parking is behind the building or in the back of the building. There's a small vehicle test driving course that is for the Division of Motor Vehicles, which has been delegated to the tax collector's office to operate. We have an access point off of Town Center Parkway as well as one on Ilex. So a very nice site plan, a lot of open space, a lot of landscaping part of the plan. So these are the building elevations, and you can see they're very fresh. We'll go to the perspectives in a moment. That particular corner that anchors Ilex and Town Center Parkway is a very large glass and volumetric space, very translucent and transparent, both during the day and at night, with a large overhang, very nice soft earth tone colors with the introduction of white, the use of metal canopies for architectural style, but very, very well articulated. And again, the building is designed by Song and Associates, award-winning architects, do a lot of civic work all over the county and all over the state. So it's really been a pleasure to be a part of their team and really to work hand in hand on really every aspect, the hardscape, the landscape, our site furnishings, the lighting, everything's been very carefully considered. So again, Councilor, you asked, is this the building? It is. And so you'll see this is the corner that anchors that hard corner at Town Center Parkway and Ilex. Very welcoming. I mean, as you come down from Persimmon, from Seminole Pratt, past the fire station, I mean, this is going to be a wonderful statement to the public. And then the building sits up on the street. You'll see off to the distance here in the center of the building, that's actually a curved archway. So really will create a lot of excitement on the street. And most importantly, they're going to start construction immediately. So this is going to begin to create some form and action, attracts other actions. So this will be a stimulus, we think, for other activities to occur. Here's a view looking from the opposite direction. And I'm not showing you all of our beautiful landscaping along Town Center Parkway, but I'll tell you the landscape palette really has been designed to accentuate and reinforce everything that you see in the architecture. So it's equally as much of an architectural statement as a landscape statement. But again, you can see that curved wall, which is that front entrance statement that comes all the way out onto the street. So very nicely done. A view of the back. So the building is truly four-sided architecture on the front and on the back. A little bit of a plaza space that sits out here on Ilex Way and Town Center Parkway. Flags are there. We've got bike racks as well as other site amenities for the benefit of the residents. Now going into the technical part. Again, this is a plat that is required to meet the minimum requirements of the Florida statutes for platting of parcels of land. This has been prepared by our surveyor, GeoPoint, and has been reviewed for technical requirements from both the Seminole Improvement engineering staff as well as the city engineering staff, and has been reviewed for legal compliance with Florida statutes by the city attorney's office as well as Seminole Improvement District's attorney's office, and all have found this plat to be consistent with the requirements of the Florida statutes. Therefore, we are asking your approval tonight. Again, these are the technical requirements outlining meets and bounds and areas consistent with the requirements of Florida statutes. And with that, I will thank you. Again, truly reiterate our excitement for this project. I can't tell you how excited I am to present it to you. I'll be more excited to see it built and be more than happy to answer any questions that any of the council people have.
We have no questions?
Real quick, I think I saw something there for electric vehicles. As far as parking goes, will there be designated spots for EVs?
There are. We have, I believe, 2 double chargers that will be provided on this site for EV. Again, that's not a requirement of code, but it's something that your staff asks us to try to do to provide electrical charging stations for sustainability. And so they will be there, sir.
Now, being that we're such a golf cart friendly, forward-thinking city, I'm sure there's no qualms about parking golf carts in those spots. I'd love to be able to hop on my golf cart, go pay my taxes.
From my perspective, we don't have any objections to that at all. There's plenty of parking there to park.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have a question that may be out of your expertise. How are they going to staff this tax collector? Are they drawing from people they're already employing, or is there maybe a chance for residents to gain employment?
Counselor, I don't have a direct answer from the tax collector's office in that regard. This will be a new facility, and so I would just assume that there may be some leadership that may come from other facilities, but I would imagine that there'll be a new staff that they will be hiring and bringing additional employees to the city, and I certainly would hope that they would entertain people from the city as well as the Central Western community.
Okay.
If we have no other questions, Zoe, could you read 2020-13?
You mean Resolution 2020-14?
13 would be required first, I believe, Zoe.
Okay. Resolution 2020-13, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Tract PC5 Tax Collector, a parcel of land being a portion of Section 1, Township 43 South, Range 40 East, Palm Beach County, Florida. Said parcel also being in part a replat of a portion of Tract OST 2, as shown on the plat of Town Center Parkway South, Phase 2 plat, as recorded in Plat Book 126, pages 114 and 115, and a replat of OST 1, as shown on Ilex Way, Phase 1 plat, as recorded in Plat Book 126, pages 116 and 17, both of the public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date.
I will make a motion to adopt 2020-13.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Councilman O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning. Mayor Roger Manning.
Sorry? Approved.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of our entire team, which are far more people than just myself, we thank you so much and look forward to bringing the project forward.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 2020-14. You could read that by title, please.
Resolution 2020-14, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the site plan for the Palm Beach County Tax Collector and the Department of Motor Vehicles offices located at 16440 Town Center Parkway South in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for implementation, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on 2020-14? I don't see any other discussion, so could we have a roll call on that, please?
Motion to adopt 2020-14.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
Approve?
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Approve, yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we have an item on our regular agenda, A, Resolution 2020-15, a resolution to enter an agreement with Nova Engineering and Environmental. You can have by title.
Resolution 2020-15, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Nova Engineering and Environmental, LLC, for professional building department and inspection services for the City of Westlake, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
We have a discussion on this item.
This, I'm not clear what this is about. What?
Mayor and council, this is, several years ago when we first started, we did a piggyback and a agreement with Nova Engineering for our building department. And we want to continue with Nova Engineering on the building department. So we've picked up on another contract, which will allow us to continue utilizing Nova Engineering for our building department services. They have been doing a phenomenal and fantastic job. And I believe we need to just continue with moving forward with them at this point in time. And that's what this before you does, this new agreement.
Does everyone understand what a piggyback on the contract means?
Go ahead and explain it again.
I'll give a brief description. Most contracts have to be publicly bid by the agency and allows others to tie on to that contract under the same terms and conditions, so that if it's publicly bid in accordance with all the statutes, you do not have to spend the time and money to go out and publicly bid it yourself if the vendor is willing to provide the same technical services and conditions to you as another governmental entity. And having the track record that we have with Nova, we want to be able to keep them on board and keep moving forward at the pace we're doing now.
Do we have any more discussion on this item? If not, can we have a motion, please?
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-15.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Councilman Patrick Paul, seconded by Councilwoman Kara Crump. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning.
I would approve.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Doesn't look like we have any other new business on the agenda. So that leaves us with our city council comments. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes, hi. Thank you, everyone. Basically, my only comments for today's agenda would be regarding the use of the city's logo, as well as, some personal comments possibly being misconstrued as coming directly from the city. I know city manager just emailed over some policies from, other municipalities in our range. I'd like to go ahead and, if everybody's looked those over, and if the rest of the council and mayor agrees, if we could please direct the city manager to draft some kind of policy of our own that we could adopt and submit it to legal for revision. I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Are we discussing this, Mayor? Is this up for discussion?
Yes.
I believe that I am the only one who has used it. So, Councilman O'Connor, I will address that during my comments. However, section 2016-1, 15-03 clearly states what we have already in place. And so I will address that. It was brought to my attention in writing the other day, just as it was brought to your attention. So I will address that during my council comments. So we already have that in place, Councilman O'Connor.
Okay, great. If we could get me a copy of the policy, or get us all a copy of the policy. I was under the impression that we didn't have something in place. Or perhaps we need to, expand on it possibly. My only other comments would be now with, COVID and this global pandemic we have going on, last thing everybody wants to worry about is hurricane season, but that's upon us now. I know we're working on a solution for these setbacks, for these generators. I keep telling everybody how wonderful of an electrical grid that we're on now, and to have faith in that, but it would still be wonderful for those residents who did want a whole home standby generator to be able to do so on the smaller lots. So I know we're working on this, and I appreciate that, and just want to keep pushing forward for that with that.
Yeah. Councilwoman Crump?
Yes, I don't have any comments at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Patrick Paul?
If I can, I reserve my comments until Vice Mayor has made her statement. If that is okay.
Sure. Vice Mayor?
So I'm going to take just a few minutes of our time, a little over the 3 minutes that I am allotted, if council does not mind. The other week, a few weeks ago, I did a community cash mob. My decision to do the community cash mob was based on our weekly Western community calls that elected officials have, where it talked about the economic impact of the Western community. Several municipalities here in Palm Beach County participated in ways to help the economic drought as a result of COVID-19. The county, as many of you are aware, I'm sure, based on our information and going to those county meetings, was allotted $261 million for coronavirus relief funds. Because of the size of Westlake, of course, we did not qualify for those funds. So we could not get those funds. We don't have any small businesses. My push was for me personally, to host a community cash mob, which other municipalities did, not only in Palm Beach County, but in our South Florida areas. I did use the logo. Later, I found out it was not right to use the logo. I immediately, once it was brought to my attention, redid the flyer without using the logo. However, using my title of Vice Mayor, in which I have been sworn in as. I did contact the Ethics Department. They were not aware that we had Section, and Commissioner O'Connor Again, it is Florida Statute 165-043, Section 2016-1, where it does state, it already states that we are not supposed to use the logo if we are not working in our elected official capacity, unless we have council approval. And so I am not too big to say I was wrong. I do apologize for doing that in the event it offended anyone. One reason, though, that I did want to have those workshops during COVID-19 is so because if we remember Sunshine, we cannot talk. I can't run anything by you. So if we were not having those COVID workshops, which I asked for at our last meeting, there is no way for me to tell you what I had planned on doing as it relates to community. Again, I apologize because I was wrong. It was brought to my attention this year. I've been sworn in since 2016. It was brought to my attention in 2020. So my apologies for that. Moving forward, on last week, I think all of us have been aware of the recent situation of our country as it relates to Black and brown people being killed senselessly, I would say. I did write a letter using my personal letterhead, which I posted on my personal Facebook page. The third body of my letter did include factual information about Westlake. A constituent did take offense to it. And after consideration on my end, because of the state that our country is in, I decided to rewrite the letter. I am on the board of directors for the Black elected officials. And so I am going to share a letter or share the letter that I read at the county commission meeting. Each of you know, county commission meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of every month. And I'm going to read the letter that I read at that county commission meeting that was also posted or quoted in the Palm Beach Post. So I'm going to share that this evening for the record. And it clearly states the right to assemble with like-minded people to raise your voice and air your grievance is fundamental to our nation's DNA. And as elected officials, we have a duty to listen to these voices, even or especially when they are saying things we don't agree with. That's how democracy works, at least in the way that modern ears think of that term. The people invest their power in us and trust that we use it for the common good, to build, to uplift, to empower. I want us to keep this in mind as we mourn and process the loss of the life of another Black man, as we express our righteous indignation at the structural racism that plagues many of our communities. We have a lengthy agenda to attend to, but let's be clear, looting, larceny, and violence is not the answer. There's no moral equivalence between murder and the destruction of property, but we do not have to choose one or the other. For every building burnt and brick thrown, we've each realized that that is one more person, family, or entrepreneur that we add to the list of those suffering in our country. One item that we as elected officials, community leaders, and possibly our community stakeholders need us to respond to is creating a diverse group of elected officials, officers, and community activists to help strategize to ensure our county continues to create and implement policies that reflect mutual interests. Next, let's work to ensure we're investing valuable time and resources to encourage residents to exercise their right to vote. I think it's fair to say we're all hurt, we're all confused, and we are all willing to work together collectively for the common good of our country. Council, the purpose in writing that letter is because I had Black and brown people in Westlake asking me where I stood and what was my voice going to be in this time of turmoil as we represent a very diverse melting pot in Westlake. That was the reason in me writing that letter. Again, I checked with the Department of Ethics from them, and they put in writing nothing was wrong with the first letter I wrote. However, because of the sensitivity of where we are as a country, I changed the letter. I believe that is all I would like to say in regards to those two recent circumstances that happened with me. You know, I have served on this council since 2016, and I have tried my hardest to represent Westlake, not only in Westlake, but throughout Palm Beach County. So I would never do anything to jeopardize, one, my integrity as a person. Number two, anything that would jeopardize the integrity of the makeup of those moving to Westlake and the creation of Westlake. I'm going to, of course, Councilman Paul would like to say something, but I would like to ask, going off topic of that for a second, Mr. Castle, a question. Mr. Castle, we have 7-Eleven coming out. We have the tax collector's office coming out and other commercial buildings. That is going to create job opportunity. Have we been in touch with Mr. Forbes, Clint Forbes, in regards to public transportation for those who may live in the Western community and may need to get to Westlake for work?
As of this date, I have not, but I will.
Also, have we thought about anyone from council, preferably Mr. Paul or Mr. Councilman Paul or Councilman O'Connor being a representative on the TPA committee?
We can look into that. I know we have, we can put them in as potentially as an alternate, but there's only a certain number on the TPA that are already locked up seats, but we can push for a seat as well.
Yes, and there are 21 elected officials. I think a couple will be rolling off, so you may want to lobby so that one of them can be a representative for TPA. And that is all.
Tell me, what is TPA?
Transportation Planning Agency.
I see.
And that is all for tonight.
All right, then. Well, I guess it's my turn. I just had, well, I guess a few quick words regarding all this turmoil in the country right now. I myself have been recipient of police mistreatment, and I want to keep that as short as possible. However, that has never led me to say that all police officers are bad. I just know that in my lifetime, I've never committed a crime I've never committed a crime. Nonetheless, I was laying on the ground. I told officers I can't breathe, ended up with broken ribs, and so on. The point is not that all police officers mistreat black people or brown people. And there are some bad officers out there. And I think it is a police slogan to say, if you see something, say something. And if the public and the police can just adopt that little slogan, then I think we're going to go in a different direction. There are things that are not right, and that needs to be fixed. That's all I had to say to that.
I know I'm done, but can I say one thing, Mayor Manning, to that? Councilman Paul, there will be letters coming from Cunningham Bar Association, as well as Mayor Manning. I'm sure there will be people getting in contact with you. There has been a call to action or ask for community conversations to happen, and they are going to be asking council people to join these conversations. They are going to be asking mayors as well as city managers to look at our policy in regards to policing. So, Councilman Paul, you will hopefully be able to sit down at the table to help look at what we currently have in place, as well as Mayor Manning, as well as Councilwoman Crump, as well as Councilman Jay O'Connor. I think it's fair enough to say that here in Palm Beach County, we have a loving community, and we do work with our police officers. And we are asking for them to come to the table with us. I don't have to say what happened in Palm Beach Gardens for all of us to know that we believe in a fair justice system here in Palm Beach County. And so I do believe, Councilman Paul, that your voice will be able to be heard, and hopefully you will join the table to have these much needed and meaningful conversations moving forward.
Yeah.
If I may very quickly, I just want to go on record and say that I personally had absolutely no issue with the substance of your letter, if we could backtrack a little bit, Vice Mayor, and neither did the 5 constituents that called me and reached out to me. They had zero issue with the substance of the letter. The issue that they had was that it read as if there was official City of Westlake statements coming from the city. And just in the spirit of unity is why I was asking if we had some form of a policy in making public statements where we had to have some kind of disclaimer at the end. These are the thoughts of Councilman John Paul O'Connor and my thoughts alone. Or if public statements from the city would have to come from an official press release or something along those lines. That's basically all I was getting at. As far as the substance goes, I mean, there's absolutely no argument there. Thanks.
Okay, my turn? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sheriff Bradshaw hosted a meeting this morning with 12 mayors whose cities are all contracted with the Sheriff's Department for police protection to go over their policies on handling the use of force in our cities and our county. He assured us that proper training and review policies are in place to prevent this type of act from happening here. I believe that the Sheriff's Office, men and women, are doing a good job out there. And I'm confident that all the steps are being taken to prevent this type of act from happening here in our city and our county. Of course, there's no way that we're going to be ensured that's going to happen for sure. But he reached out to all the mayors this morning to have this meeting to go over the policies, which I won't get into all that, but it's pretty extensive. And if there is a bad actor out there and he's had too many instances where he's gotten out of line, he'll be certainly taken care of. Or he mentioned that sometimes some of these deputies are out in high pressure areas. And if they're in a high pressure area and there's been an instance and they feel that this is not an area that they should be in, they can move them around and put them in a place where it may not be high pressure, where they can handle conflicts. of certain types. So after that conversation, I felt much more comfortable about his stance and where he was coming from. And it was a very good meeting, and that's what I want to pass on to you this evening. On a more cheerful note, I had a meeting with John Carter, Vice President of Minto Communities last week. He's obviously committed the land to build the city hall. And he's also willing to pick up some of the soft costs in putting the plan together. So he'll be working with city staff so that we can move forward with that plan as soon as possible. I'd like to thank John and Minto for the commitment, and also look forward to any future support that they can give us moving forward on the city hall. That's it for mine tonight. So we have staff reports from Lieutenant Craig Turner. I don't know if he's on with us this evening, but if not, it was in the packet, I believe. And also from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, I think I saw Mr. Rowley.
Yes, and I believe Lieutenant is logged in, but I'm not sure if he's off of mute.
Chief Rowley, are you there, or Lieutenant Turner?
I do not believe they're on the call any longer.
Okay, they couldn't wait for us any longer. So, Mr. City Manager, your report, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Three or four items here. Hold on. Lieutenant Turner says he's there, but we can't hear him. So we'll go ahead and move on. We'll be fine.
Okay.
First off, I'd like to again echo what Mr. Herring pointed out earlier and congratulate Vice Mayor Robinson on her appointment to the Board of Directors of Seagull Services. Congratulations, Vice Mayor. It's good to see you out there in the public making things happen. I appreciate that a lot. The second item is the Executive Order number 10 that I sent out to Council on Friday is in effect, and it does require using face masks for doing business within county facilities or riding on Palm Trail. As I reported to the Council earlier today, the county is looking at working with the Governor's office regarding Phase 2 opening, potentially for the county, but they're monitoring the increase in cases that they've seen in the last few days and the hot spots to make sure that we don't open up too quick and that we don't create a bigger problem than what we already have. And the virus is still active in the county, and they're still checking it and testing. Next item is the Education Committee applications that was completed this evening on second reading. The city clerk will have those applications information on the website in the next couple of days. Public, if they're interested, they can, once they complete it, submit it to the city clerk, at which time ultimately they will be submitted to the council for action and selection process for that committee. And just as we talked about the building department earlier, a note of interest is from May of 2019 to May of 2020, the building department has issued 321 single-family permits for homes, 168 auxiliary permits for fences, pools, etc., and 46 commercial permits. So in the last year, they've issued 544 permits. That's a lot of permits in one given year for a city our size. So things are going quick and fast. Next item is, if I may, I'd like to update you on a couple of things. Zoe, if you can pass over the control. you know, you put things into place when you're starting from scratch, you're starting an organization or whatever you're doing, you think are going to be good. And then you realize they're in place and you're not sure. And then you come along and you realize, wow, I have a lot of more data and everything than I originally thought. Zoe, am I able to display?
Yes, you may share your screen now.
Okay. Screen 2. What I'm sharing with everybody is when we, back in 2013, 2014, before the city, the Seminole Improvement District knew that they were going to have a lot of infrastructure to deal with. So starting back then, we looked at infrastructure. And there are two ways to do infrastructure. You can do paper, you can do GIS and GPS data. So we chose the new system to start with. This particular slide here shows you only a few of the layers turned on for the infrastructure for Seminole Improvement District. I'll zoom in here, sorry if it drives you a little nuts. But we have all the water pipes, all the sewer pipes, all the storm drainage in the entire district. So looking at that, once a city came into place, you looked at it and said, okay, well, how are we going to do this on our side? And you have the addressing of all the facilities. For example, we have monuments already in the system. We have even transformers in the system. We have meters in the system. We have all the addresses for the amenity centers, the concession stands. Everything within the city has been GIS located, and most of them have been GPS located in there. We moved over to the plat, and if you recall, when we did the comp plan, even in our comp plan, we state that the GIS map for the city is the final plan. As you can look here, the light is the R1 districts, darker is the R2, the multi-use districts, and you can see the areas that already have platted. One of the things that we have done, even with today's system, is we have been proactive in, today you approved the Groves plat. The proactive GIS group has already addressed all the plots in phase 1 and phase 2 pending your approval. We've already received the approval of the USPS, so that now once the plat is recorded, we can release those addresses to the builders so that they can do permitting so we can continue to move on. Additionally, one of the things that we're doing is we're working right now on integrating all the addresses into the building department programs that we're working on and working to integrate. One of the things that we also found was easy, not easy, but as we were going through and looking at the DO, we realized that on the rural parkways, these are highlighted according to the DO, but we realized there's some areas that are missing. And then we looked back at where our planning and our comp plan shows that we have meandering pathways as well as buffers around all kinds of areas. The other thing that we've done in here is you take, for example, here, the site here talks about the solar energy site, but also useful to everybody is when you go down here, I'm sorry, wrong one, on the second page of this, you actually have the plat that's attached to it. So staff can pull the plat up without having to go anywhere else and find the information. So it's all tied in, whether it's the solar site, whether it's a Whippoorwill Circle, whether it's the plat for phase 1, Hammocks of Westlake, you can find a plat in here. So one of the things that we've been able to do is taking this data along with the data for the utilities, and all of it has been forwarded to the 911 system as well as Palm Beach County Fire Rescue so that they can put it into their system and respond more actively. One of the items is extended counsel if any of you would like, I can to do a deeper dive. I can set up some time with you as a one-on-one, and we can do a lot more deeper dive. And if you want even deeper than what I can go, I can get you with the GIS team, and they can take you down to the nth degree if you're interested in that. So I offer that. And then that's all I have. Oh, one more thing is we still have a tentative workshop planned for June 22nd at 5:30. We're still finalizing with the mayor the areas of that agenda, but that should be rolling out to you within the next few days. We'll have that covered, and then that's all I have tonight. And Zoe, I need to unshare my screen.
Ken, will that workshop be in person or virtual?
It is planned to be in person for the council and several of the staff, and then the public will be by virtual. But that way we can maintain the 10 per the room kind of scenario, et cetera.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all I have, unless there's any other questions by council.
Good report, Ken. And I definitely think, yeah, one-on-ones would be good, as well as maybe a collective workshop on that deep dive as well, for it, to allow council an opportunity to ask questions of each other. We may be able to trigger questions in one another if we were able to do a working session workshop with that.
Okay. Yeah, it's it's one of those things that we put into place, and it's there, and it's got a lot of data, et cetera, and you kind of forget about it, and then when you get back into it, you go, oh my gosh, there's a lot more here than I ever thought I had, and a lot more things that we can do and track things. And what's nice is that all of the staff has access to these maps, so they can look up stuff in a heartbeat, so that we're not having to worry about waiting for somebody else to get us a map or to get us the information. We can work as efficiently as possible. Are there any other questions? Mr. Mayor, I think you're still muted.
Madam City Attorney.
Good evening, Council. Thank Ken for providing that information. Ephraim and I are trying to schedule a training to figure out how to use that as well, so we can have access to those maps. We had a positive conversation last week with Sid and Sid's council in trying to follow up and bring some clarity and finality to the discussion on those rural parkway easements, as well as the road rights-of-ways. Those maps are critical to sorting that out amongst all the parties. Lewis Long Walker did offer their GIS system to us to help sort this out. So we'll continue to have those meetings and follow up on those items with them. We also had a positive meeting last week amongst city staff going through the development agreement, as well as a follow-up meeting again with Lewis Long Walker to work through some of the initial feedback and comments from city staff, issues of concern on the development agreement. There was a few issues there we'll continue to work through before we bring those forward with the council, but there's still work to be done. But overall, it was a positive and productive meeting. In response to the vice mayor and those concerns were brought to my attention regarding the logo, as well as the letter itself and the references to the city of Westlake. All prior instances that I'm aware of when those statements have been put out, or I'll say community organization items that the vice mayor has engaged in, generally she has provided that to the city manager as well as myself to get authorization to participate in, whether it was funding or what have you. And there's never been any objections to that. Yes, that ordinance was passed when we first started and adopted the city logo to address use of the city seal. It is out of Florida statutes. Councilperson O'Connor, that's what she was referring to. That's in an email from the city manager Friday evening that has a copy of that. But if you don't have it, I'll be more than happy to provide that to you again. It does state it should be used with authorization from the city council. Generally, that comes in the form, and again, some of that backup was there from the city manager, of someone requesting to use that seal for fundraising purposes or to support an organization, whether it was a 5K run out here, the Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, any of those things, would request the city's logo, seal, and some of those manners, and that's always done with the blessing of the city council. The vice mayor did make the changes as she went through. She had already informed me that she had checked with the ethics commission before she did that. The only other item, I think, from one of the public's concerns was whether or not she could use her title. And I did not see anything that would prohibit her from using her title. That is who she is. That's who she is for the city of Westlake. And the final point there was yes. Most jurisdictions where elected officials are making statements, they will clarify that this is my individual personal opinion, not that of the collective council for the city of Westlake. That was shared with the vice mayor on a go-forward basis. If she's going to make broad statements, that would be the proper way to handle that, unless there is a statement request letter. If that letter had been brought to the city council at our meeting and say, do you agree with this position? Mayor, can you send this letter out on behalf of the city of Westlake? That is another manner in which that could have been done on behalf of the entire city council for the city of Westlake. So for the new council members, as well as some of our other council members, if you have some of these items you would like to bring up in the future, please bring them up in that manner under your council comments and get authorization to move forward with those programs. We continue to work through these codes. I'm trying to finalize Chapter 5 so the city manager as well as city's attorney can review those items and make sure that is on your agenda for July 13th. I've gone through some of those final comments with our city engineer, and so hopefully we can move that forward and keep it going on your agenda. And that's it for me this evening. Thank you.
City manager, I do know we have, I'm not sure if we have comments, but Officer Turner is here. If possible, he could give his report so I can hear what he has to say.
Yeah. Craig?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. I switched over to the actual downloaded system, so it actually works now with my voice. If you looked at the monthly that came in last month, there's not a whole lot that's going on. We've been kind of standing back with all the COVID issues and not doing a lot of traffic enforcement, limiting our contacts with people. We kind of lifted that in the past week and a half, 2 weeks. So we are starting to make more contact with the people. I know there's been an issue with speeding along Seminole Pratt, and that is being addressed now. You did have one event that wasn't on the monthly. It happened over this past weekend. There was a sexual assault that happened in your shopping plaza just outside of the Gators. The suspect has been identified, and it's an ongoing investigation. But female and male met inside the Gators and went out to his truck where she said she was sexually assaulted in the vehicle. That's been turned over to our special crimes unit, and they are investigating. That's pretty much all I have for the report, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Does anyone have any questions for Lieutenant?
Yeah, the speeding within the hammocks. I know we talked about having making an assessment and monitoring that and so on from the side of Minto or the city, but I think it is time that we do get the sheriffs involved within the subdivisions to and actually write tickets, because there are people flying 50, 60 miles an hour, especially.
We legally have no right to stop people inside those developments until the traffic agreement is completed and with the county. We don't have a legal reason to do that, and we'll put ourselves into some serious legal responsibility issues if we issue citations inside the gated communities at this time.
Mm-hmm.
That traffic agreement has to be done in place, or we don't have a right to do it.
Excuse me, what's involved in doing a traffic agreement?
I know that the city actually fills out the paperwork. They have to have a survey done to make sure the stop signs, the streets are actually in compliance with whatever the laws are for the length of the roadways, the width. And I believe John Carter's working on that right now. He has started the paperwork to have for those agreements put in place, but we're just waiting on the paperwork to come back so we can enforce the laws within the communities.
Okay. I'll get in touch with you.
From a resident's perspective, is there any downside to having a traffic agreement in place, or is it all upside?
Oh, it's all upside. That's what gives us the ability to enforce the laws. If you have any issues within the community, that's what tells us we can go in and actually running stop signs, speeding, whatever other issues that you have in there that you want enforced. That's what we have to use to be able to enforce them. I think the downside would be not having one done, because then basically we have several private communities that we cannot enforce anything in there because they never had the traffic agreements done. So people complain all the time, but we tell them there's no legal authority for us to come in and do those.
Does each subdevelopment need their own agreement? So would Meadows have to have one, Hammocks have one, Sky Cove, or would it be one for the entire city?
Well, you need to have one that covers each one. So I don't know if the master HOA can do that to cover all the subdivisions at the same time, or if they have to break it down by individual subdivisions. But yes, the traffic agreement needs to encompass all the roads within the different developments. But as far as how many traffic agreements you need, I'm not sure how your structure is for your master HOA, if they can do that under one umbrella.
Is it a possibility, and I don't know if there's a cost involved or not, to, these little things that pop up that tell you your speed when you're going too fast or whatever, temporarily, is there a way to put something like that up to just kind of make people really aware of how fast they're going?
Yeah, we have the speed trailers that I can request to have them put inside the city. I guess the only issue we would have is if I'll get with Ken after the meeting and find out on certain roadways, you can't really just leave it in the roadway and obstruct the roadway. It's a trailer.
Right.
So I'd have to find safe places that we could put it that wouldn't be on somebody's property or in the middle of the road. But yes, that's an absolute possibility to bring a speed trailer in and move it throughout the community a little bit. And I have a signboard that I actually just received funding for my areas, Westlake, Loxahatchee Groves, and the other acreage areas. And I can move that wherever I want to once I get it. I'm just finalizing the funding on that and the ordering. And then I could bring that inside the developments and remind people of the speed limits and certain other things also.
Okay, good.
Councilman Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't one of them where people are coming either to or from the mail kiosk down, either from the front entrance to the back entrance down Whippoorwill?
Yeah, and I know we had talked about on not Rain Lily, whatever the sidewalk is here, to put a stop sign there. But
right.
I can tell you that the speed in times is really, really excessive. I'm not one that
I'll work with the lieutenant, and we'll find some places to put the signboard and the speed board out in different locations throughout the communities.
Yeah, I think that might help to make people really just aware of just how fast they're really going.
No, definitely. And I can still have the deputies out there on the outside of the gated communities. They can actually stop people. It's just within the gated communities they can't.
No. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have nothing else here. We leaves us with our public comments. And I remind you that it's a 3-minute limit on public comment. Wade, do we have?
Yes, I do see a virtual hand for Laddie Goldwire. I will unmute you if you'll state your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Lady Goldwire. I'm at 15972 Whippoorwill Circle.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I want to thank each of you for your attentiveness and your thoughtfulness as it pertains to representing each of us. This community is an absolute dream. What I want to say is that we live in what I would classify as one of the most desired communities in South Florida. It's a community whereby thought and intentionality have gone into every aspect of living that one person could imagine. John Carter and the developers have demonstrated that it is possible to create a working community that has all of the amenities a luxury-style home community would provide, securities that are often taken for granted in other places. We have a community where our children play outside, they ride bicycles, neighbors converse, they're gathering peacefully. And for the most part, we conduct ourselves, here in Westlake in a model fashion. However, as you all are all very well aware, this is not the case where we leave the outskirts of Westlake. And I wanted to personally thank Vice Mayor Long Robinson for lending her voice to the issue that came about as it pertains to Black Lives Mattering last week, both at the county commissioners meeting as well as a personal acknowledgement she provided as to her commitment to people of color, specifically Black people. We're speaking up on and out in behalf of all of us. Some may not be aware, but there was a countywide call for all elected officials, regardless of color, to publicly state or take a stand against racism and to ensure that they would work collectively towards solutions within the communities and surrounding areas to end police brutality. And I had noticed at the time that no one from our city had taken a position. I contacted Vice Mayor and I asked her specifically why she had not said anything. I spoke about the sentiment of many of our residents here in Westlake who had concerns that there was deafening silence from the newest community in Palm Beach County. And I was elated, as others were as well, that we were represented when she did proffer a communication, only to observe almost instantaneously that there were members from our community that had taken issue with the statement and the acknowledgement altogether. I personally believe that where we are in the world right now and what we're all experiencing is a microcosm of what can be experienced when people make the conscious effort to abandon bias and bigotry, opting to embrace family and family values and inclusion. And we would all like to avoid the tough conversations. We would all like to benefit from avoiding those things that make us uncomfortable. And the comments and requests and the nudging that she received, I felt they were unwarranted. But each of you do need to consider that there are many of us who live in this neighborhood that don't get to pick and choose when we are made to feel uncomfortable. And we're almost always judged subconsciously because of the color of our skin. I've spoken to those members within the community who happen to be Black, and we appreciated Vice Mayor Long Robinson and her advocacy. She was applauded for that advocacy openly by Commissioner McKinley at last week's meeting, and most of the elected officials present committed to doing the hard work to ensure solidarity. All of us are working to build a space that is inclusive and diverse, and the expectation is not that people turn a blind eye to color. One must acknowledge that it's almost impossible that we don't see color, but the goal is that we are evolving as human beings enough to see color and have it not divide. However, since we're not there yet, my request is that the Deas be mindful that they serve a diverse community, and we want you to know we want to know that you guys see us all and you think of us too. Some were offended that it was brought up all together, but I can assure you there were some of us, your residents, who were feeling somewhat offended because no one had said anything at all. Personally, I feel that the city should have made a statement because today silence will most likely be viewed as indifference. And I don't want indifference to overshadow all of the hard work that's gone into making Westlake beautiful.
If you give me a moment to see if there are any additional comments, Mayor. Anyone on the line, if you'll raise your virtual hand, or if you need to unmute yourselves, please do so now. Call-in user, I see I will unmute you if you're unable to do so if you have a comment. The user that has called in, if you have a comment, you may speak using your first and last name and your address. There being no comment there, I see no further comments.
Hi, Zoe.
Yes?
Hi, I did raise my hand.
Oh, I see it here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Torres. State your full name and address, please.
My name is Alicia Torres. My address is 5847 Whippoorwill Circle.
Thank you.
I had two comments. The first one is quick. I just want to say that I know you guys have been, talking about how Westlake is now connected to this new grid, this electrical grid. And I just want to say that we noticed it far and away last week when we had two pretty nasty storms. And I and my immediate neighbors had not even a flicker of electricity. So that's really quite an improvement compared to, how things were going, early on. So that's greatly appreciated and noticed. The second comment I wanted to make was actually similar to the previous residents' comments. I'm not going to be nearly as eloquent, but I do want to say that I do greatly appreciate, in particular, the city manager reaching out, having his coffees, and trying to be as informative and as communicative as possible. Same thing with Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. I appreciate her reaching out, and I appreciate Council Members Paul's comment earlier about how he has had similar experiences to what's going on and across the world right now with this Black Lives Matter issue. And so I do want to say that, again, while I appreciate a lot of the data that we get in these meetings, there is an element of the personal missing, and it's disheartening for me to see all of these mayors and governors reaching out and addressing their constituents when we really don't hear much at all, except for, in this most recent case, the Black Lives Matter issue from Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. And I'm really disheartened to hear that a constituent is the squeaky wheel at this point. I would like to see more communication, particularly, and I'm a white person. I would like to hear, especially from our white leaders, about how to come together during these trying times. I just feel like we have the impersonal communication part of things covered, and I would like to hear more from the mayor, more from the council members. I don't know if this means a newsletter monthly or when things get tough. But I think that the residents would, in fact, appreciate seeing communication on a more personal level with the city logo, as opposed to whatever the squeaky wheel or the 5 squeaky wheels are talking about. I know that about half of the council lives in the city, half of the council doesn't. But the fact is we live in the most diverse community that I have ever lived in. I've lived in Michigan, DC, California, and now here in Florida. And I think it's something to celebrate, and we need to take care of each other right now. So I would like, I would like to hear more from our leadership during these trying times. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I'll give a moment if there's any additional comments. Please do not hesitate to unmute yourself if I've missed your hand. Any further comments? Mayor, I see no further comments.
Okay. There being no further business, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:34.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.